Hey everyone! Today we're diving into life in the Neolithic period, which is basically the last stage of the Stone Age. This era is super important because it's when we see the rise of agriculture, megalithic architecture, and polished stone tools. So, let's start with a bit of context. The term Neolithic or New Stone Age often comes up when we talk about the beginning of farming. This was a game changer because it marked the shift from hunting and gathering to growing crops and domesticating animals. But here's the catch. Agriculture didn't kick off at the same time everywhere. For example, in the Near East, it started around 9000 BCE, while in Southeast Europe it was around 7000 BCE, and it took even longer in other places. Now, pottery is another tricky element when trying to date the Neolithic period. In some areas, pottery appears as a symbol of the Neolithic, but this doesn't always align perfectly. In Japan, pottery was around before agriculture, whereas in the Near East, agriculture came first. This makes pinpointing the exact start of the Neolithic kind of fuzzy. In the 1940s, an Australian archaeologist named Gordon Childe coined the term Neolithic Revolution to describe the massive impact of agriculture on human life. But modern scholars think this term might be a bit of an exaggeration. The transition to farming wasn't like flipping a switch, it was more gradual. Before fully embracing agriculture, many communities were semi-nomadic, moving between campsites based on seasonal resources. Over time, one of these campsites might become a more permanent base where they would start to farm, albeit on a small scale. Interestingly, agriculture and foraging often coexisted. Many groups would farm part of the year and hunt or gather during the rest. So, rather than a sudden revolution, the shift to agriculture was a series of small, gradual changes. Agriculture developed independently in several regions and eventually led to major changes in how humans lived. Farming meant more food, which supported larger populations, leading to more villages and eventually towns and cities. This also spurred new technologies like plows and irrigation systems, transforming human societies and their relationship with the environment. So, as Neolithic communities settled down, they started to become more aware of their territories. Between 9600 and 6900 BCE in the Near East, we see some interesting changes. There were innovations in arrowheads, and while the types of animals hunted didn't change much, we do find human skeletons with arrowheads embedded in them. Some places, like Jericho, were even surrounded by massive walls and ditches, suggesting there was intercommunal conflict, maybe even the early stages of organized warfare. Another big change during this time was in stone tool production. These innovations spread widely, showing that there were significant networks of exchange and cultural interaction. As these groups settled into permanent communities, their ways of living and organizing society evolved. With more efficient subsistence strategies, the populations of these settlements grew. Anthropological studies tell us that larger groups tend to become less egalitarian and more hierarchical. The people who managed and allocated food resources gained more social importance. Archaeological evidence from this period shows that, at first, individual houses didn't have their own storage facilities. Instead, storage and food preparation were managed at the village level. For example, at Jarf Amar in northern Syria, there's a large subterranean structure that served as a communal storage facility. This building was centrally located and used for several rituals. Another site in northern Syria, Tel Abu Huraira, provides evidence of the gradual transition from foraging to farming. The early inhabitants hunted gazelles, wild asses, and wild cattle. Over time though, gazelle hunting decreased while sheep herding increased, shifting from wild sheep to domesticated ones. Eventually, sheep herding became the main source of meat, and hunting gazelles became less important. Interestingly, human remains from this period show increased tooth wear in adults, indicating a diet heavy in ground cereals. When pottery was introduced, tooth wear decreased, but the frequency of bad teeth went up. This suggests that people started eating more boiled dishes like porridge and gruel instead of baked food made from stone ground flour. As the Neolithic era drew to a close, we see the dawn of a new age, the introduction of copper metallurgy. This transition period is sometimes called the Chalcolithic or Neolithic era, marking the shift from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age. So what's the big deal about copper and bronze? Copper, the first metal to be widely used, was a major step forward. However, it had its limitations, especially when it came to making durable weapons and tools. Copper just wasn't tough enough to handle the rigors of combat or heavy labor. That's where bronze comes in. Bronze is a game changer. It's an alloy made by mixing copper with tin, which results in a metal that's harder and more durable than pure copper. Plus, bronze has better casting properties and a lower melting point, making it easier to work with. With the advent of bronze, the world saw a revolution in tool and weapon making. Bronze weapons were stronger and more reliable in battle, giving those who wielded them a significant advantage. This new technology spread quickly, and before long, bronze became the primary material for making tools and weapons. The old stone tools, which had served humanity for millennia, were gradually phased out, signaling the end of the Neolithic era. This transition didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process as communities learned how to mine, smelt, and alloy copper and tin. The skills needed to work with bronze spread through trade and cultural exchange, with craftsmen learning new techniques and passing them on. This period of technological innovation also brought about social changes. As metalworking became a specialized skill, it led to new forms of social organization and trade networks. Metallurgy required resources that were not always locally available, prompting long-distance trade and interaction between different communities. Bronze tools and weapons not only improved efficiency in farming and warfare, but also had a profound impact on art and culture. Metalworking techniques allowed for more intricate designs and decorations, leading to the creation of beautiful jewelry, statues, and ceremonial objects. These artistic advancements reflected and reinforced social hierarchies, as elites displayed their wealth and power through ornate metal possessions. As we move further into the Bronze Age, we see the rise of more complex societies and the first true cities. The increased agricultural productivity and the ability to support larger populations led to the development of urban centers. These cities became hubs of political power, economic activity, and cultural life. The shift from small agrarian villages to bustling urban centers is one of the most significant changes in human history. This era also laid the groundwork for future advancements. The knowledge and skills developed during the Bronze Age set the stage for further innovations in metallurgy, which would eventually lead to the Iron Age. The ability to create stronger and more versatile metals continued to shape the course of human history, driving technological and social progress. And there you have it. The end of the Neolithic period and the rise of the Bronze Age marked a pivotal moment in our history, full of technological advancements, social changes, and the foundations of modern civilization. Stay tuned for more exciting stories from our past. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.